already mine. You wingspan mighty ocean, everything. The slightest of your motion can convince me. Yet in all your might and glory, vanished from the sky. It's just another story, this man-made life. They tell us how it fell from the sky.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour, winter edition. My water just thawed out about the start of the show, so my guest today is Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America. Hello, Larry. How are you?
Clay, doing well. Thank you. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you again, sir. And some congratulations, I believe, are in order. I think Gun Owners of America had a profound influence on our elections, and I think you've got a little bit of good news to report for a change.
Yes. I was just looking at an article in the Washington Examiner, and some of the poll results that have been analyzed since the election indicate that Obama has lost ground among all groups except those with graduate degrees.
No wonder they didn't want to let people with high IQs in as officers in the Army.
Well, I don't know about the high IQ, but obviously if you've had too much brainwashing at a university, that is problematic, obviously.
There is a lot of that going on, Larry. You know, I tell people, I said, you know, they don't refer to television as programming for nothing. But
that's a good twist. Now, the elections were significant. I think it was best understood as an initial victory, initial winning of a battle in a long war. This country has been under assault by socialist, ruling class, elitist thinking for a long time, and they've done a lot of damage to us. And the one thing that seems to be a little bit different now from what we've endured in the past is that Obama has managed to reveal to a lot of Americans who hadn't seen it before that this country's headed in the wrong direction. So, yeah, the Congress, the House of Representatives went Republican, and there's a lot of independent thinking, pro-Second Amendment, conservative Republicans in that new Congress. I don't think they're going to make a difference. I think they're going to be able to push that Republican caucus in a constitutional direction. One of the things that I'm encouraged about is they seem to have, after the election, been in touch with each other a lot on the telephone, and in effect, they've agreed that they're going to have themselves as an accountability group, so that as they've seen what's happened to people that have come to Washington in the past, that they get sucked into the system and become the same as what they really came to try to change. So the challenge that they know they have before them is to not repeat that, and to hopefully they're going to push as a bloc and require the rest of the Republicans, including the leadership, to toe that line, so they can have an influence that's greater than their numbers if they can manage to stick together. That when I see that and when I hear them talk like that, that's pretty encouraging. But it didn't stop just in Washington, and as you know, the election had a tremendous impact at the state level. We've seen states that have not had a Republican majority in their legislatures since Reconstruction, Alabama and North Carolina. And these are typically conservative Republicans. In Texas, they're struggling right now, and Gun Owners of America has jumped into the fight over who's going to be the Speaker of the House in Austin. There's a guy right now that's the Speaker. He's a rhino, a Republican in name only.
Okay.
And he got himself elected when the Republicans had a majority of, I think it was 2 in the Texas House. And he went to the Democrats and cut a deal, and with just 11 Republicans voting for him, he became the Speaker, and almost half of the committee chairmanship were liberal Democrats. And gun legislation was getting slow-walked, and it didn't get through. There was a big push to get open carry legislation, making it legal to just walk around with a gun on your hip, for goodness sake. Big deal. And that ran out of time because these liberal committee chairmen were really playing around with it. So there's a challenge now to see if a conservative Republican can become the Speaker, which would make a huge difference because the speakers, and it's the same in Washington, determine who the committee chairmen are. If you vote for the Speaker, that's a really important vote. That's why we counted it as an anti-gun vote for relatively moderate Democrats who voted Nancy Pelosi, because she then was going to throttle any legislation that we were seeking to get out, or any other conservative issue-oriented group was going to try to get out. It wasn't going to happen because the Speaker sets the name of the game. And that's the same deal in Texas. The Speaker's position is a very powerful one. And so we're hoping that the Republicans in that House in Texas are going to get themselves a leader that's going to reflect what their voters wanted to send them to Austin for. So the battle continues, and as far as I can see, this is going to be probably, who knows, a 40 years war. We're going to have to remain as diligent and as involved as so many more Americans were in the last election for a long time to come, because we haven't got the job done yet. There's still more to do. In the United States Senate,
let me just interrupt you for just a second, Larry.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting that you used that term. I filmed the first Homeland Security meeting after 9/11, and Colonel John Brinkerhoff was lecturing law enforcement, and he said he used almost the same words that you use. We're in for a long war. It's going to be fought on American soil, and the enemy is weak, and the enemy is going to use unconventional tactics. In other words, the enemy doesn't have tanks and guns and jets and missiles.
No, the biggest asset is the ruling class in this country that hates the country and thinks that the enemy ought to be allowed to hit the country because, well, they deserve it. You know, we're such a terrible country. And that's the thinking that finally I think the American people saw in the Congress and in their state legislatures, and decided, wait a minute, this is just absolutely fundamentally wrong. That's why I think Marco Rubio, and maybe not as well known, but the new governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, both of those son-daughter immigrants, struck such a chord because they said, wait a minute, my parents came to this country because they were seeking to do here what would have been impossible in their home country. And when they came here, they found that this was the land of opportunity. This is an exceptional country. There's nothing else like it in the world. And the ruling class hates it when people talk like that. But the American people think, well,